I was obsessed with the idea of finding that kind of Moulin Rouge place, that kind of place filled with cigarette smoke and absinthe and artists and can-can dancers who might kick the hat off of the Prince of Wales. So, I'm from New York City. I'm originally from Far Rockaway, which is the very last stop on the A train line. I grew up in Long Island and spent my school years sneaking off to Manhattan to cause trouble. I am an artist. I basically, I'm known for doing these hyper-detailed, sort of surrealist Victorian pictures. I also run a company called Dr. Sketchy's, which produces alternative life drawing events with glamorous, subversive underground performers as models, very often burlesque dancers. I started it at a dive bar in New York in 2005, and now it's in over 100 cities around the world. So these shoes, I got these at a sex store on St. Mark's, and they're just so ludicrous. I mean, I know that store. You can kind of walk in them, but not really. But they're awesome, and thus I will maintain them forever, even if I can't go down the stairs in them. Yeah, they make me feel like do you know how in Venice, courtesans used to wear these big-ass platforms so they could tower over the filth in the street? I feel like one of those. I feel like very powerful, but like I'm going to topple at any moment. You know, like I feel like I would need serving maids on either side.
Dress?
This dress came from a thrift store in Hollywood. I think it was handmade. Like, the whole inside is a wreck. Like, look at this. It's terribly sewn together, but for some reason it just fit me really well. It's one of my favorite dresses. So I got these crocheted gloves from Ensis, which is a awesome, like, pinup girl stop staring store that's in East Village. I love crocheted gloves, even though sometimes they foil me because I can't use my iPhone when I'm wearing them. Then my classy $20 shoes and a vintage pin.
Pretty.
Thank you.
The shirt came with the bow?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's
it's almost like a little Black Widow's veil. I love archaic clothing items like gloves and veils, and I mean, God, if I could bring back the ruff, I probably would. This is a hair accessory by Glampire. They make kind of sort of vintagey, beaded, elegant, poofy things for your hair and neck. And they're one of my favorite companies. This one originally, I'm so sad, it had a little piece of my art in it and then fell out when I moved. But it's still a very serviceable hairpiece. It's
gorgeous.
Dude, it was so beautiful. He had set basically this picture of my friend Zoetica in it, like a gem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
With a little red frame, and it was so beautiful. The kind of shape of this outfit, I'm obsessed with those Dior New Look suits where it's all bajonque. So I'm wearing a crinoline that I got at a square dancing shop when I was on tour in the South. Then I'm wearing a vintage skirt I got in Austin, another one of those thrift store binges.
I've heard
a pair of Louboutins, which I guess the only story to these is it was my first job that I made a proper middle-class paycheck at. I squandered some of it on these.
So you ran?
Thank you. Yeah, I guess when I'm not involved in rigorous painting, I'm involved in unrigorous nail polishing. These shoes are Fluvogs. Fluvogs are my favorite type of shoes. I'm obsessed with their hourglass heel, and they're super comfortable. And crocheted stockings. I love kind of the old school, Parisian brothel vibe.
It's very Toulouse-Lautrec.
Totally Toulouse-Lautrec. Right. So I'm wearing these fantastic stripper shoes. I don't know where they're from. They're just from the stripper shoe store, There's a stripper shoe store in every city, and they're filled with delights.
So true.
I'm wearing those, and I'm wearing stockings from Conway that cost me $1. My trusty petticoat. I'm wearing a dress from Mod Cloth, which is my favorite company to get inexpensive little things from. They have a great stock of kind of vintagey looking, A-line, dresses. I'm wearing my lucky opal ring. My dad got this for me. And
what does your dad do?
My dad is a professor
of
Puerto Rican and Latin American studies. And this pin, it's from a Mark Ryden opening. Mark was giving them to all of the people who came dressed in costume. Because, I work from home. I draw pictures all day. And when one works from home, it is one's privilege to wear pajamas at home. I was doing a photo shoot where I was basically dressed up like a French whore. They were trying to do, those old like black and white like harem postcards. They were trying to sort of resurrect those, and I was wearing these in the shoot, and the photographer gave them to me. And, my days as a burlesque dancer have kind of heavily influenced my aesthetic. My painting aesthetic, my fashion aesthetic, my kind of life aesthetic. I mean, even my apartment is scattered with plumes and feathers that I collected from my days, my days dancing burlesque. It's girls parading in great outfits who have hustled for that gig and are going to have to schlep home a big heavy bag and have conceived of their entire act, and who are these tough, self-created...
It's holistic.
Yes,
it's very holistic.
Holistic, I mean, but just self-created, that's what I would say. Self-created, self-defined art form done by tough men and women, and that's why I like it. So when I graduated high school, I took off to Paris and lived at Shakespeare and Company bookstore, which is this sort of old paper and velvet and moth-eaten place where crust punks and backpacker kids and reprobates could work 2 hours a day in exchange for sleeping upstairs.
Wow,
George Whitman, who's the owner, he was 85 years old. He came to me and he said, "There's no miracle greater than to be a young girl in Paris in the spring. Be my little daughter." Which of course sounds horrifically sleazy, but it totally wasn't. I don't know, I had this little room with a brocade bedspread and an old mirror, and George Whitman, the owner of Shakespeare and Company, part of our terms for staying there was we had to read a book a day, and he had this huge library of like antique out-of-print books. And we weren't expected to be good employees, so my lack of skill at the retail counter was not a detriment. So basically it was just this magical place where I made friends from all over the world and read old books and ran off to Provence with a guy and this sort of ill-advised fling, and I just sort of had a marvelous time.